stormwater runoff from residential, commercial, and industrial land areas can collect a lot of things like oil, grease, and litter, all of which can pollute our waterways like Lake Pontchartrain,
Montlamar Creek,
the Cuyahoga River,
Little Calumet River,
the Elk River,
Dog River.
Environmental Affairs investigates hundreds of complaints of illegal discharges to the drainage system each and every year.
Contamination,
contaminated water,
contamination,
polluted water,
cyanide, petroleum products,
industrial waste,
pollution,
diesel fuel,
contaminated
oil sheen,
toxic spill,
cyanide and ammonia spill from the nearby ArcelorMittal steel plant.
About 20% of the complaints of illegal discharges to the drainage system are related to commercial and industrial activities.
The citizens, the business owners, school children are the ones who ultimately have to live with any pollution that enters the water bodies.
Yes, 48 years ago, the Cuyahoga River caught fire. But something else caught fire. What started right here in Cleveland began a national movement for clean water. It was an act which grew out of Cleveland's Cuyahoga River, where the nation began to better watch all of its waterways.
From a raging stream during spring snowmelt to a gentle summer rain, to the slow movement of water through the ground, water is in constant motion. Under natural conditions, the majority of rainwater that falls to the ground infiltrates the ground or evaporates. However, industrial activities can alter natural drainage patterns and add pollutants to rainwater and snowmelt. The introduction of pollutants to stormwater most commonly occurs when industrial facilities allow operating procedures and industrial materials to become exposed to stormwater. This potentially contaminated stormwater may then enter our lakes, rivers, streams, and wetlands. The best way to address this issue is through pollution prevention measures that focus on preventing the contamination of stormwater at the source, which is more cost-effective and environmentally beneficial. This pollution prevention concept has led to the development of the current stormwater regulations and the overall goal of the program, which is to reduce the pollution entering the surface waters of Michigan by implementing best management practices designed to prevent the contamination of stormwater runoff. Originally enacted in 1948, the Federal Water Pollution Control Act was the first comprehensive statement of federal interest in clean water. However, the act did little to control discharges of pollutants into the nation's waterways. By the mid-1960s, approximately 2/3 of the nation's rivers, lakes, and coastal areas were rated as unsafe for fishing and swimming. Highly publicized events such as the Cuyahoga River Fire of 1969 and growing public concern for water quality led to the Federal Water Pollution Control Amendments of 1972. Better known as the Clean Water Act, the primary purpose of the act was to eliminate the pollution problems caused by municipal sewage and industrial wastewater. Point source discharges of pollutants to navigable waters required authorization under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. As pollution control measures such as wastewater treatment plants were implemented, water quality problems were reduced but not eliminated. As a result, the 1987 amendments to the Federal Clean Water Act recognized that stormwater was a significant source of water pollution. The amendments redefined point source discharges to include urban and industrial stormwater runoff directed to surface waters through discrete conveyances such as pipes, ditches, graded lots, or constructed waterways. In addition, Congress directed the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to develop regulations for stormwater discharges associated with construction activities, municipal separate storm sewer systems, and industrial activities. Through Part 31 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy has been authorized to administer the Federal Clean Water Act and issue permits for the discharge of stormwater from industrial activity.
There are 3 criteria to consider when determining if coverage is needed under the NPDES Industrial Stormwater Permit. First, determine if the industry is identified in the federal stormwater regulations. Most regulated industries are identified by standard industrial classification known as an SIC code, while others are included by narrative description. Once it is confirmed that the facility is a regulated industry, the next step is determining if there is a point source discharge of stormwater to surface waters of the state. Surface waters of the state include rivers, lakes, streams, county drains, and wetlands. The surface water that receives the point source discharge is called the receiving water. A point source is any discernible, confined, and discrete conveyance that discharges storm water into surface waters. Examples of point source discharge include, but are not limited to, pipes, ditches, channels, tunnels, conduits, or anything that conveys storm water into surface waters. In most cases, land graded to convey stormwater runoff across a piece of property would create a point source discharge of stormwater. At many facilities, stormwater is discharged from the facility into a municipal storm sewer system. It is important to understand whether the municipal sewers are separate or combined. In a separate storm sewer system, stormwater is kept separate from the sanitary sewage and discharges directly into a surface water body. The sanitary sewage, which also may contain industrial wastewater, is directed to the local wastewater treatment plant where it is treated and then discharged. In a combined sewer system, stormwater is combined with sanitary sewage and is directed to the local wastewater treatment plant. If all stormwater from the facility is discharged to a combined sewer system, stormwater permit coverage is not needed. The final step in the determination process is evaluating the potential for exposure of industrial materials or activities to stormwater. Industrial materials or activities include, but are not limited to, material handling, equipment and industrial machinery, raw materials, intermediate products, byproducts, waste and scrap materials, and final products. However, final products that are designed for outdoor use are not considered exposure. However, the final products stored outdoors cannot be mobilized by stormwater. Facilities without exposure may apply for an exemption from the stormwater permit requirements by submitting a no exposure certification application through MyWaters. To remain exempt from the stormwater permit requirements, the condition of no exposure must be maintained at all times, and the form submitted to EGLE every 5 years. If there is exposure of any industrial materials or activities to stormwater permit coverage is needed. In summary, facilities must obtain stormwater permit coverage if all of the criteria apply. It is a regulated industry that discharges stormwater to surface waters of the state with exposure of industrial materials. In order to obtain permit coverage, the facility must be in full compliance with all permit requirements before submitting an application through the EGLE MyWaters permitting system. The facility must have an industrial certified stormwater operator listed on the application. In addition, by submitting the application, the applicant will be certifying that all the following requirements of the permit have been completed: that a stormwater pollution prevention plan, or SWIP, has been developed for the facility, that there are no unauthorized discharges from the facility, that non-structural stormwater pollution prevention measures have been fully implemented, and finally, that structural controls described in the SWIP are installed and operational. Once these requirements are completed, you may apply for permit coverage by submitting a completed notice of intent to the Water Resources Division via MyWaters.
The general ACO for unpermitted discharges is available to industrial storm facilities that meet certain conditions. Eligibility for the consent order is limited to those facilities that currently have a stormwater discharge but have never held a permit issued by EGLE for the stormwater discharge. Please note that the consent order resolves the violation of discharging without a permit from EGLE. However, If the discharge is found to have caused any damage to surface water, stormwater, or groundwater quality, the consent order may be invalidated. A facility which has been operating and discharging stormwater without the required industrial stormwater permit coverage may be eligible to fulfill the requirements of the General ACO by submitting a complete NOI COE form via MyEnviro portal. Before submitting the NOI COE form via the MyEnviro portal, the facility has a few tasks to complete. They must obtain the services of an ISW certified operator. This can be an employee at the facility or a consultant who has completed the WRD ISW certified operator training and has received a certification number. A facility must also develop a stormwater pollution prevention plan, preferably using the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan template available at michigan.gov/industrial stormwater. Facilities must also implement the non-structural controls as described in the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. They are also required to complete construction and put into operation all structural controls as described in the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, or have a schedule of when the structural controls will be constructed and become operational. Finally, the facility must certify that the facility has no unauthorized discharges. When facilities receive written notification from the EGLE Water Resources Division that industrial stormwater permit coverage may be or is required, they have 90 days to submit a complete application called Notice of Intent, or NOI, for coverage under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, also known as NPDES, for stormwater discharges associated with industrial activity and Certificate of Entry, also known as a COE, in the MyEnviro portal. Certain facilities may not qualify for the General ACO due to previous permit coverage which has lapsed or failure to submit to NOI COE applications within 90 days of written notification from EGLE. Facilities with previous permit coverage which has lapsed do not qualify for a General ACO and will need to contact EGLE district staff. Facilities which have failed to submit the NOI COE application within 90 days of written notification may be required to enter an alternative ACO with a higher penalty. In summary, it is important that you know your role in protecting the waters of the state and that you are prepared to act. The extra effort that you take to keep the stormwater clean will help protect the surface waters that we all enjoy. If you have any questions or want to learn more, visit us on the website or call the Environmental Assistance Center.